Good evening and welcome to Dog Talk. I'm Dan Camilleri.
I'm Laura McKillop. We'd like to start by thanking Giro for their ongoing support in bringing you Dog Talk each fortnight.
Tonight we're fortunate enough to be speaking to Lydia from our Wildest Doctor, Working Dogs. Lydia, how you going?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Good, thank you.
That's
good. That jingle gets me now, Laura, because it cuts like halfway through that bit. I was like,
It's weird. I don't know what happened, but it shouldn't have happened.
It's all good. It caught me by surprise, but hey, wouldn't be the first time. How's your day, Lydia?
Yeah, pretty good. Yep.
Not a pretty chilled one, speaking from before.
Yeah, it was pretty relaxing today, which was good. I needed to prepare a little bit for our conversation tonight, so gave me a bit of time to do that.
Getting in the zone.
Yeah.
So, our guests out there tuning in tonight or listening back, at the beginning of the year, I put out a post asking what our audience wants to hear. One of them was psychology. We had Sharon Steer on. Another one was nutrition. And your name got thrown around a lot there, Lydia. So you and I had a yarn and you went, yep, I'd love to have a chat. So
yep.
Thanks heaps for jumping on tonight. We really appreciate that.
No, thank you.
What is it about nutrition that I know that you love? Like, I think we were on the phone for like an hour when I was trying to pick up some Thai food. And it was just, you could hear in your voice like how passionate you are about nutrition in your dogs.
Yep. So I guess, just with having, so we've got a bit of a background. We've got not only stock dogs for obviously mustering, but we have a team of working pig dogs as well. And just over the years that we have been involved in the working dog world, there's just been a few things that I'd noticed with the dogs we owned and, other people's work dogs as well, that sort of made me want to dive into this stuff. Just things like, early onset of arthritis with dogs that are not really of age, lack of condition, dogs sort of depleting their muscles when they should be looking quite full and fit. And I just really wanted to go into the background of all of that because I was not really finding any readily available information about it. And, there was sort of not a lot of, I guess, knowledge that people were sharing about nutrition for their working dogs. So I just went on a limb and just dived in on it on my own. And I just did a heap of studies, like within that, racing greyhound, your sled dogs, because there's not a lot of studies on farm dogs or hunting dogs. So I was sort of just doing a bit of research into that and piecing some puzzles together with those two sorts of the types of work dogs, and then sort of relating it back to our stock dogs and our hunting dogs. Yeah.
When you got into that, and you mentioned greyhounds first, and there's some old recipes from different racer to racer that are pretty wild. Take you through down a few rabbit holes.
Yeah. So as in like, sorry, what did you want to know?
Like, just like, I know recently I looked at some stuff and some greyhound racers are like, some of the stuff they're feeding their dogs, and I was like, oh, really? And I looked into it a little bit. I was like, wow. And some people like really, like, especially if they've had some success in racing, they're like, nah, this is what I feed my dogs, and this is my regime. And pretty wild, some of the menus, I suppose, that they were feeding their dogs.
Yeah, well, with that sort of stuff, so what I was sort of researching in is, heavily like what you're focusing on for, say, a sprint dog like your greyhound, and then you compare it to, say, your endurance dogs, your sled dogs. So I know that, like, in theory, a lot of the greyhound races, they've got to be fed quite a high carbohydrate-based diet. And then you've got your sled dogs who are they're on a very high fat diet. If you were feeding, your greyhounds a high fat diet, there's statistics out there that they actually run slower with higher fat in their diet. But I haven't delved into some of those crazy things you're talking about. It was more, what works for the greyhound community, and then what works for the sled dog community, and then branching them two things together, because we've got dogs that are obviously sitting in that in between. So we've got some dogs that are sort of, more predominantly, considered a sprint dog. And then you got other dogs, like particularly our stock dogs, they are more an intermediate class of like, not endurance, but they're an intermediate sort of level of output. So yeah, those are the sort of things I was looking into with that. Yep. But I'm sure some theories out there with, what these dogs get fed.
And I know that like detail on like energy requirements and how dogs use their energy is a big one for yourself. Do you want to touch a little on that?
Yeah. So with the energy requirements of our say stock dogs and hunting dogs, so I might start with their energy systems our dogs have, because that's I think a really good thing for everyone to understand. So we've got basically 2 anaerobic and then 1 aerobic pathway with our working dogs. The first 2 are basically fueling. So the first one's a phosphagen system. It fuels like a single, say, activity, like a single jump or the very start of a sprint. And that uses pretty much readily available adenosine triphosphate and creatine phosphate for that output. And then you've got I hope I say this right, glycolactic system. I always pronounce it wrong. And this is basically fueling your dog for up to 2 minutes. And it's basically, a sprint activity. So it could be, for example, it could even be, if we're talking about stock dogs, a stock dog sprinting off to tuck a beast in. And that'll fuel that energy system for about 2 minutes. And then you go into the oxidative energy system, which is your aerobic energy system. And that is predominantly using your fats because you're sitting at more of that low level intensity. So I thought that was a really good thing for everyone to understand is how dogs actually use their energy. And then, we've got to sort of, as their owners, we've got to figure out what they require to fuel them for that particular job. So, the thing that I would normally do is I'd calculate their energy requirements based off of a few factors. And, this can be based off a number of things. So, weight of your dog, the terrain, the temperature that they're working, how many days they're deployed. And you normally would calculate their resting energy requirements first, and then you'd go into their active energy requirements. So which is called their maintenance energy requirements. And basically with that, I'm giving a figure and a range of like sort of where you start to feed, like how much you start to feed your dog in terms of calories, up to say a maximum capacity. So to put in perspective, your stock dog or a hunting dog, for example, if you've got, say, a certain figure of calorie intake on their resting energy requirements, our stock dogs and hunting dogs can use, say, up to 6 times that if they're deployed on multiple days or doing really long days or high intensity work.
So very much like a human.
Yeah.
So you basically put together what a F1 driver's nutritionist or an athlete's nutritionist would for the intake and their job they're doing.
Yeah, so I'll calculate all my own dogs based off sort of their job, how many days they might be working, blah blah blah, and I'll sort of feed them within that figure that I come up with to keep condition on them and obviously keep them fueled for that job. So you've got, say, your stock dogs like our team at Kelpies, and they might go out and work anywhere between 3 to 5 days a week. So if they're working, say, 5 days a week, they're going to be getting fed at that higher end of that calorie intake. Yeah. Just to keep their bodies fueled and them performing where they need to be. Yeah.
And I noticed in your own social media takes you own a pretty enduro pink hat.
Yeah.
Do you rotate between products depending on workload, not just quantity?
Not really. So we'll keep our dogs on, so we feed our dogs enduro, hence why I wear the enduro hat. So we'll keep our dogs on, so for example, our working stock dogs are on the enduro working dog. And that's because our work they supply dog food for us. And then our pig hunting dogs will have them on the full bore, the Enduro full bore. So Enduro full bore is my preference for the feed. But just as an example, like we would just use, you know, what's set for those teams of dogs the whole time. But we have all these other things that we'll add into their meals. So I guess the point with that is, you know, kibble can fuel your dog and it can keep condition on your dog, but there's other additions you want to add in to basically, you know, increase the longevity of your dog out in the field and working, and targeting things that may not be able to be done by your dry kibble. So, you know, omega-3s, like adding in sardines, fish oil. So there's all these sort of things that we'll add in that are for a purpose and they are beneficial to the dog. You know, we're not just adding things in that are just, oh, we'll just chuck that in tonight. Like there's a strategy, you know, to what we're feeding. And like, yeah, there's a reason behind it. Yeah.
So how often are you adding different additives in? Every night or every few?
Pretty much every, yeah. Sorry, go on, Laura.
Are you adding them like every night or every few nights or?
Yeah, pretty much every night we'll add like at least something in. But you know, there are the odd days here and there. We don't have the time, just give them a bowl of kibble, like they'll be fine. But you know, if we know they're working hard and they're doing, you know, a couple of days work, or they've had a really big day and we know they've got a big day tomorrow, like we are strategically adding in certain things to their food to promote that, you know, energy for them the next day, and also to promote their body recovery too. So if I want to give you an example, what we would focus on normally is, say, the night before they work. So say they're working, you know, 7:30, 8 a.m. the next day. We'll be feeding them around sort of 6 p.m. They'll be getting some fat cubes in addition to their kibble, their water. They'll just be getting possibly a little bit of extra protein. It really just depends. You know, if they're working in high temperatures, you probably won't add a lot of protein in. But if they're sort of just working in a standard day and it's not too high of a temp, we might add maybe 50 to 100 grams of protein as well. And that's just your muscle meat protein. And then, yeah, just your sardines, I recommend to everyone. Like, you can't go wrong with adding sardines in your dog's diet. They have so many benefits. They basically a superfood for your dog. So sardines pretty much every day. Maybe 1 or 2 days we'll skip sardines because it's just basically the cost of giving 14 dogs a sardine every night. So we'll sort of maybe do 5 nights a week with that. But yeah, we'll be focused on that, and say a teaspoon of fish oil. So that's the night before they work. And then after they work, if they've done a big day and we know that they've done a lot of muscle work that day, you know, we'll be adding in a quality protein that night for that next feed. And that's just based off, you know, their muscle recovery, building blocks of their broken down muscles for repair and so forth. And also keeping up your fish oils, because that's protecting their joints, things like oxidative stress, which I think we'll go into later. And then, yeah, just basically sort of strategic things in their meal to help them, help them with recovery. And also, like I said, the oxidative stress is a few things you can add in there too.
You mentioned fish oil. Are you actually using oil or are you using capsules?
Just capsules.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the human grade capsules. So yeah, the quality is important. Like, you got to be careful where it's from. So you buy like a good brand of like a human grade fish oil, and you know, for a Kelpie, maybe 1 or 2 capsules in their feed.
You just opening it and putting it on their feed, or? Yeah,
some of it I'll just eat it out of eat the capsule, but some others will leave it, so I have to open it for them. Yeah.
Do you ever use krill oil, or is it always just normal fish oil?
I haven't used krill oil, but you can use krill oil too. Yeah. But I just buy like your Blackmore's, human grade fish oil, and that one's a pretty good brand. Yep. But yeah, it's a really good thing to add in for your dogs, because it gives them a number of benefits. Like it's really good for their joint health, obviously omega-3, so anti-inflammatory purposes. And yes, it protects their cells as well from oxidative stress. So yeah.
And what do you mean by stress?
Sorry, what was that, Laura?
What do you mean by oxidative stress?
So oxidative stress is basically caused by an overwhelming response of reactive oxygen species in the dog's body. So this is brought on by intense physical activity, but also it's brought on by a number of things in the environment, like your stresses in the environment. So, you know, drinking from new water sources, new bacteria coming into the system, your dog being stressed because they're out in a different place, they're working, whatever could be going on that day. You might be in a bad mood. That might stress them out. But yeah, there's a few things that can create those free radicals, and they overwhelm the dog's body to cope with that with their natural antioxidant capacity. So our working dogs are really exposed to oxidative stress, and a big one as well is actually the air that they're taking in. So like air is basically toxic. So our dogs, they consume like a high amount of air to keep their body temperature and core temperature down. So if we compare them to, like, say, a human athlete, our dogs can take in almost 3 times the amount of oxygen than a human athlete. And that also, yeah, just the intake of that reacting in their system, it's all contributing to the oxidative stress in your dog.
So it's a very normal thing, in other words.
Yeah, it's completely normal. Yeah, and I guess it's one of them things people probably aren't aware of it. Like, I never knew anything about it either. I guess you think your dogs are just tough and they can just deal with anything, but oxidative stress has massive impacts on your dog's muscles, and it breaks your dog down basically. So if you're not providing them with something extra in their diet that can combat those things, just the sheer, like I said, pressure their body's under and stresses in the environment, stress mentally and even in their gut health, it is all leading to, you know, immune system dysfunction, like I said, breaking down of their muscles really quickly. And then you have injuries. They're prone to injuries and they're prone to getting sick. So having things in their meal that are high in vitamin C and vitamin E, they protect the cells. Like I said, the fish oil helps protect the cells. Your sardines are really good. Also sort of so vitamin C wise, I think it's called carotenoids, but that's your orange vegetables, like your carrots, your pumpkin, your sweet potato. Then you can add in your berries, like your blueberries, leafy greens. They're all high in antioxidant properties for your dog. So contributing something in their meal, one of those ingredients at the minimum, is going to help them, deal with that.
Yeah. And when you say it protects, does it protect or replenish?
Protects their cells, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not like as if that oxidized stress takes stuff out. It's more like attacking. Is that the right way to think about it?
Yeah, like it's their body's not coping with that overwhelming influx of free radicals trying to attack the cells. So
the average pet dog wouldn't have that same amount? No. Okay, yeah.
Absolutely not, yeah. They're not exposed to what our work dogs are exposed to. Like if you had a highly active dog, it might have a little bit of oxidative damage, but they're not, like if you're comparing a sort of average house dog, they're not doing anything near what these, stock dogs and hunting dogs would be doing, yeah.
Is that why a lot of athletes train at high altitudes?
Possibly.
To help with stuff like this?
No,
recently we had a dog in here and the client went overseas to train in high altitude.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, what's that? Oh, there's something about the air, and I was just like, I had dogs everywhere, and I was like, there's something about I can't remember exactly what, maybe triathlete, I can't remember, but they were going somewhere where it was very high altitude for their training.
Okay,
and might have something to do with, well, obviously
possibly. Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure to that extent. I'm not really, it's funny, like I love all this working dog athletic, background, and I used to be like, when I say good at sports, like I was good at sports too, but I've got no idea about the training and the background of the human athlete.
Well, how often you see now, like I was watching, so F1 starts this weekend. So Drive to Survive was on this week. Yeah. And Lando Norris was on working on his fitness. So it was for the season last year. And a lot of them are wearing these masks now, hooked up to these machines while they're running, and they're measuring like all their airflow and their intake and a lot of stuff. And like before it was like, oh, mate, went to footy training and went to the pub. That was like what an athlete was, right? But they just picked up so much in the last couple of decades.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
I was just agreeing with you. Yeah.
You mentioned about like the way you do your ratings and that, and you mentioned heat a few times. Yeah. How much of a factor does humidity play into that as well, not just like dry heat?
Yeah, so like if they're working in elevated temperatures, they're also putting obviously a huge demand on their body. And also like we talk about, we all know the risks of a dog overheating and hydration in our working dogs as well. So they talk about, in terms of working in the heat, like water, for example, is our dog's first limiting nutrient. If our dogs aren't getting enough water, they can't regulate their body temperature properly. And there's a massive stigma too, like just working, I've worked on a station with stock dogs, blah, blah, blah. And then now we work, obviously on a cattle property here too. But like in the past, I've seen, people push their dogs through like certain things. Like, it's a hard one to talk about because water sources aren't always available when you're out mustering, for example. And people don't always take a little water bowl for their dogs. You just push your dogs through it and they're just waiting to get to that next dam, or you're waiting to settle the mob on the dam and then you let your dogs have a drink. But the biggest thing I think that, may not be considered is the water is fueling our dogs to keep going. And it's also allowing our dogs to properly regulate that temperature so that they're not at risk of, overheating, or just in terms of normal heat stress in your dog. So having consistent sort of small, steady intakes of water consistently is actually more beneficial than pushing them through certain things. But it's tricky because you can't always call your dog back in the middle of a job.
Yeah.
Have a water break. Like it's not realistic. So it's a hard one with those stock dogs, it's a hard one. And this is more particularly stock dogs because with your hunting dogs, they go off on a bit of a stint up in the, going for a quick look for pigs, or they've gone and caught pigs in front of them. And then they're having a quick break after that and you're offering them the water. It's completely different in that situation, but our stock dogs are often out there pushing through a lot of that because there's no readily, available sources of water.
And that as well, it wouldn't be the first time I've heard of people's dogs getting poisoned from contaminants in what they're actually feeding or giving their water in.
Yeah. We've had dogs.
People would think, and it's probably not immediate a lot of the time, but something that's on set.
Yeah, we've had that issue in the past as well. Where we work here, they also have piggeries. So a lot of the piggery, run out from the piggeries.
Yeah, not styes anymore.
Yeah, it goes into the dams, some of the dams.
Okay, yep.
And sometimes your dog will float off and go into one of the bad dams and have a drink from it. And yeah, I have had a dog get pretty sick from that before. And yeah, like it was pretty touch and go with him that night. We couldn't even get him to a vet because there was no vets open. But I was just lucky enough to have a few things in our med kit that I could give him after contacting a vet and asking about it. And they directed me to give him, so-and-so, and he come good. So, but yeah, I truly think that was from him drinking out of a contaminated source. Yeah.
I don't know what it's called in a piggery, but if you went to the tip, they call them leachate dams.
Yeah.
Everything leaches through, and then they've got a filtering process before they use that to run through.
But it can happen anywhere. Like, you don't have to have any sort of immediate, runoff from anything. It can happen in just a small little, or even just any sort of dam. They can get contaminants from anywhere.
Water tubs that are once upon a time were used for different drenches.
Yeah.
Puddle.
Sorry, Laura?
A puddle.
Yeah. And they do. They come across little tiny puddles that they have a quick drink out of, and you can't stop them half the time because you're
too late.
Yeah. Well, you don't know. Yeah.
How about electrolytes? Do you run any electrolytes for your dogs?
Yeah, we do sometimes. I guess the theory is, and the sort of the research that's out there is, electrolytes aren't really necessary if the dogs are on a balanced diet, because they get their electrolytes from their diet. So they're not like humans. They don't sweat like humans. So our dogs don't lose sweat like we do. They only lose minimal sweat through their pores. And obviously their main way of losing their hydration is through them panting. So yeah, so with that, it's the electrolyte thing. I recommend it if a dog has exerted themselves and they're, I don't know, maybe they got a bit hot out at work, or they've had a really big session out at work, and you can just tell, they're lacking in a bit of hydration, or they haven't been able to hydrate themselves properly. You can definitely give them electrolytes for that sort of stuff. I've actually had to do it with a dog just over the weekend. He was out hunting and he got a bit hot, and he pretty much has had a bit of like that rhabdoism in his muscles. So those sorts of things, 100%, I'll be giving them electrolytes for that.
What, when you say that in his muscles, like kind of like tightening, like spasm kind of?
Yeah, he just got really hot. Like he pushed out a fair way at a sprint. So like he completely exerted himself. And yeah, when I say got hot, like he was on, like he collapsed, he was on the ground. So it was basically having him exert his muscles to that, degree where that lactic acid would have built up, and then his body just can't handle sort of that intensity that he put himself under. He's that sort of dog that will just push, and he will do it at a very high pace.
Is he a bit of a valve bouncy, revy type of dog?
Pardon?
Is he a bit of a valve bouncy, revy type of dog? Like switches gears really quick up here? He's
just a dog with a one-track mind. Like, he's got no self-preservation. He's a hunting dog. I'm talking about a hunting dog here. Yeah. He's got no self-preservation. And you have to hunt him smart, because if you don't hunt him smart, he will do things like he did over the weekend, where you can't stop him from going. It's like, so yeah, my husband was out with him at the time, and he was trying to get him back, but he couldn't get him back. And this dog's pushed out probably, I don't know, 1.5, maybe 2K, and it would have had a bit of good pace. So yeah.
The reason I asked that is because you and I had a yarn the other day about like nutrition and the impact on mental health on our dogs as well. Do you want to touch on a little bit of your point there? Yeah,
so like obviously our dogs are, I think I mentioned that a little bit earlier, like they're under a lot of stresses in their environment, because they're often, doing a job can be stressful, and going into new environments can be stressful. But also dogs have, they've got a certain capacity in their mind, where they can, become overstimulated, for example. So dogs have that. You'd see it in your stock dogs all the time. You've got some dogs that are really cool, calm in the brain.
High arousal.
Yeah. And others are like, they'll completely overstimulate their mind, So yeah, mental health, I guess, in our dogs, our working dogs, is really important to, I don't know, like read each dog, to their individual nature. But also I talked about supplying dogs with things like, in their meals, like your sardines and your fish oils. They're really good for your dog's mental capacity. So they're changing basically the cell structure and the membranes in their brain, and they're actually able to make them focus a lot better and a lot longer. And dogs can go to work and physically do the job, but they need to be able to mentally focus too. So yeah, having all the stresses in the environment and going to different jobs and having expectations in your dogs and blah, 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 it all comes back down to, you know, that dog as an individual and trying to give them something to help them with that.
Walnuts are supposed to be good for our memory. I should probably be feeding a couple of my dogs walnuts so they remember the training a bit more.
Yeah.
Do you add any stuff like turmeric and different things like that into your food as well?
Yeah. So there is a turmeric supplement that I would recommend adding in. It's actually a horse supplement. It's called Stance Turmerical. It's basically a turmeric powder, but it includes your black pepper, your coconut oil, and that is to help it be absorbed when the dog's, when it's in the meal of the dog. So it's the same with people. If we went to have a turmeric supplement, you want to pair it with black pepper and coconut oil for absorption. So yeah, we give that to our dogs here and there. We don't give it all the time, but I sort of rotate between the turmerical, that as a supplement, because turmeric does have loads of benefits, as we know people have it too. But I'll go between that and sort of like a joint supplement for our dogs. So really depends what I buy at the time, but I don't normally put both in. I'll just choose one to put in.
And what's the benefit of turmeric?
So your turmeric's like an anti-inflammatory, but also holds a few antioxidant properties as well.
So it's like that's why you're saying you switch between it and a joint supplement.
Yeah, it's probably you probably could feed them both at the same time, but I don't like over supplementing because if you're adding in all these different things, you don't know how they're reacting with each other.
Because it's to get reliant too.
Yeah, there's massive debate on just in the dog world, the way things interact with each other, like with their nutrition, nutrients, and all that sort of thing. So you got to be careful not to overdo some things. And if you're mixing sort of supplements, I wouldn't really recommend that, because you don't know how they're reacting. You don't know if then they're actually getting the benefits out of it.
You mentioned coconut oil there. During the Christmas holiday, one of our team members brought in this stack of coconut oil, and they're like, "You got coconut water, and you got to drink it." Man, all day I sipped away at this coconut water. Oh, it was terrible. I got about halfway through it, and he'd already drank about 4 of these bottles. They're ridiculous.
Yeah.
I went, mate, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's so different. I think it's a bit of an acquired taste. But I can see how it's supposed to be pretty good for you, and it's coming from a fruit, so to speak, or a nut. So
yeah. The coconut oil for dogs is really, really good. It's actually one of the fastest absorbing, basically boosts of energy you can give your dog. So there's supplements as well out there. People will give dogs that are based off coconut oil because it's literally like an immediate source of energy. And it has obviously other benefits as well. But coconut oil, it's like a medium chain, like fatty acid. So it's absorbed really quickly. And you can give that in your meals as well, for sure.
Actually, Lydia mentioned about sweating there before, Laura. I actually didn't know that there's a disease in horses where they can't sweat and you can't work them. And a friend was talking about it a few weeks ago. I was like, well, your horse can't sweat.
Yeah.
I can't even take it for can't take it for a run or anything.
Yeah.
Because it can sweat. And I was like, what's that got to do with anything? And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay, I get that now.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've spoken about. Oh, actually, I do want to ask you another thing, because people are going to ask. Obviously, us with Enduro here. You mentioned before that you feed your dogs. You stock dogs like the working plus. At any time, are you supplementing them with?
Full bore.
Sorry, Laura.
Full bore.
Full bore. That's the one I'm thinking of. Unreal, extreme workloads, or you just sticking with your working plus and adding to that?
No, we just stick with the working plus, and I just add more additions in their meals. So the thing is with kibble, so you got to look at how much, how many calories that kibble's providing. Obviously, the working plus is a little bit less than the full bore. But if you've got a little bit of a less calorie there and you've worked out those requirements of that dog, you then know how much you actually have to feed to actually make up what that dog's needing. So it just might mean you've got to feed more of the working dog. We don't really go to the full bore because if you're mixing, you're sort of throwing off your ratios a little bit. Like, each kibble's designed to sort of provide a certain amount of protein, fat, whatever you call it, to balance that diet. So if you're mixing foods or you're then putting them on a different one, you sort of, you're sort of mixing up a little bit. I just keep it very simple. Like, I just feed more. So I know there's like a few times in the past, like, because we've got a stock dog there, Gunner. He's just a sort of dog, like, he burns through energy just so much. Like, he just is a workaholic. Like, he will go out and muster and he just does not stop. Like, he's just a motor. Like, he just goes and goes and goes. And he's very hard to keep condition on. And in the past, my husband would be feeding him and being like, oh, this is enough, surely, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's not. You've got to almost triple what you're giving him now. Like, he's not, you've got to, I'd put him right up at that end sort of calorie demand where he's reaching that 5 or 6 times his resting energy amounts. And that would be enough to keep the condition on him, But, you might put the biscuits in front of you and go, oh my God, that's a lot for a little dog, like a 20-kilo dog. But it's not, because he's burning through it, so.
What about when they get to the point, like, they just won't eat anymore? Like, so I've got a dog a little bit like that no matter how much food I put in front of him, he'll only eat not much more than a handful.
Yeah.
Like, even if you leave it there all day for him, like, it gets to the point where some days, mate, you haven't eaten your food, so I take it away, and then he'll actually eat it the next day. Like, obviously their stomach has a limit, like humans, but what if that's not enough?
Yeah, so
what do you do?
If they can't sort of fit in what you're needing to supply them to keep that condition on, you just have to break their meals up into a few meals, like, instead of just giving them one meal. Or you do what we just spoke about and you put them on a different kibble with a higher calorie, because, like, technically I would prefer to have, like, our dogs on the full board, the Kelpie dogs, but we get it supplied. So I don't need to go buying extra dog food. So if I had a choice, I'd have them on a higher calorie feed, but I've just been making that work. But for a dog like yours, you could just be possibly giving him, depending on what he's on, either trying a higher calorie feed for him or giving him some other meals during the day so that it's not just that one meal and he can try and put on that weight. Because dogs that are harder doers or don't want to stuff their stomachs with food, you're better off feeding them 2 to 3 meals a day.
What if they still don't eat that?
They still don't eat that? Well, I don't know. It depends, like, I guess, what...
He will go 2 days and not touch his food.
So does he just not like it, or is he sort of, like, is he fussy?
He's not fussy. Like, he'll go 2 days and then he'll eat, like, 2 meals.
Yeah.
And you're like, where did that come from, mate?
Randomly decides to eat when he feels like it. I don't know. I think, you could try, like, is it kibble that you're giving him?
I feed full bore.
Yeah.
Is what I feed. Because I can feed, well, like you said, higher calorie diets. So I'm getting less and they're getting the same results as such.
You could put, do you put at all, so if you put warm water in, it can actually enhance the palatability and the smell of the kibble. So
I do. He'll eat more if I put water on it. Yeah.
So
like,
try.
I don't.
Yeah. Try, like, warm, like, not hot, but warm water.
Coconut water.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Coconut water.
Yeah, you can. Try that, or you could even put, like, a bit of a bone broth in there for him as well, like, just to see if it entices him to eat. Even, it's weird, but, like, green tea, you could put that in his meal, or you sort of you could put a little bit of, what else would you be able to put in? Like some extra fats to, fats are palatable for dogs. So try a little bit of fat in there, mixing it in, or even a little bit of just like minced meat to mix in with them biscuits so that he wants to eat it, or just see if it works.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I like the water. I only do cold water. I get it straight out of his.
Yeah, so do we.
Like water bowl, but
yeah.
So we've spoken a lot about food, and obviously dogs putting different foods in their bodies makes them more susceptible to different worms as well.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a bit about what you've done or doing down that path?
Yeah, so obviously, my husband's an avid hunter. Like, he hunts feral pigs, hunts whatever he can hunt. So we'll bring meat home sometimes for our dogs too. But with that, you've got to be careful of parasites, obviously, and other, diseases that the dogs can get. I won't go into the disease side of it because that's a whole other thing in itself. Like, you've just got to educate yourself on those sorts of things, and what to look for when you're cutting open, an animal. But if you're feeding any sort of raw meat, it's obviously beneficial to have it frozen. So you want to freeze your raw meat, for a month. I think the timeline's 3 weeks to have it deep frozen, but to kill off parasites, have it frozen, I would say, for at least a month. And it depends on the density of that meat too. So if you've cut a big chunk off of, say a pig's leg or something, you might want to store that in your freezer for like 5 or 6 weeks before you feed it out. We'll take meat off those sorts of things and add them into our dog's food as well to obviously make it a bit more cost effective for us. But, parasites are a thing you got to be aware of, and these animals out there aren't getting wormed regularly. So transmission is, like even our dogs catching pigs, like they're exposed to the blood too of that animal. So keeping your dogs up to date with their worming is massive. Yeah.
Yep. Can you touch on a couple of different types of worms that are common, and do you have any natural remedies you use, or are you using like stuff that you have at the counter?
Not really. Like, I don't really recommend the natural stuff because it's one of them things, like it may not work for somebody. But so the types of worms, like your typical sort of your roundworms, your hookworms, your what are they called? The tapeworms, those really long tapeworms. You've basically the one worm that's probably becoming very resistant at the moment, especially to ingredients of the wormers out there in the market, is actually hookworm. So be careful with the hookworm, because we've had the issue of hookworm and we were regularly worming our dogs. But there's research out there saying these hookworms are becoming resistant to certain things. So the biggest thing there, and with any worms, is rotate your wormer. Mm-hmm. So rotate your wormer each worming cycle. I know a lot of working dogs get wormed more regularly than your average of 3 months. Some working dogs get wormed every month, but that's up to you on your routine. We basically will rotate and make sure each time we worm them, through the cycle, it's sort of a different active ingredient, between each one, so that, you're not running into any like resistant issues, and all that sort of stuff. So,
Actually, when you're just talking about your meat before and freezing it, do you thaw your meat out, or you give it to your dogs frozen?
No, we just chuck it in frozen. Every now and again, it might be a little bit thawed out, but it's mainly just chucked in. Like when my husband cuts it up, he just cuts it into like chunks, like about 100 grams, or so chunks, because we sort of know then that's enough for our dog. We don't want to overdo it with certain things. So 100 grams in that meal will be more than enough. So he sort of just eyeballs it a little bit with that sort of stuff. Yeah.
I'm massive for doing that as well. I love giving them frozen meat, especially my pups, of an evening. It keeps them quiet for a while.
Yeah. We sometimes just, have a day where we'll just chuck out like a leg, and then they'll just feed on that. It's just like a weekend thing. We don't do that during the week. but like we might just give them a frozen leg and then take it off that dog, give it to another one, and yeah, share it around. So sometimes we do that as well.
Actually, we haven't spoken about where are you located?
So we're in the South Burnett region. So in Queensland, yeah.
Queensland, yeah, right. Yeah, I think I might have said. And dogs wasn't, and what you do now wasn't always what you guys did, right?
No. So we're originally from Brisbane, and we were both doing completely different jobs in Brisbane. I was in admin. My husband was a Sparky, and it was just that COVID time, probably about 5-ish years ago now, or just over 5 years ago. We just decided we were over it. We wanted to pack up, do something completely different. So we decided to go and just go to a cattle station and just start working on a cattle station. But we'd always had interest in that sort of stuff. Like we'd had friends that worked, that had cattle properties and stuff like that. And we'd go there on a weekend and help out. And the pigging dog thing, my husband got into that. So the first pig dog we got was about, he would have been 7-year-old today. So he'd got him about 7 years ago. But he didn't get started till about 12 months old. So yeah, probably about 6 years was sort of getting into that working dog scene. And then as soon as we moved to the station, yeah, I was straight into the stock dogs. I wanted my own stock dogs. So yeah, got into that pretty quick. Yeah.
What was the attraction to station life and working dogs?
We just wanted to do something completely different, out of our comfort zone. We wanted to work with cattle. We didn't really have an interest in stock dogs at the time because we didn't, have anything to really, apart from just the odd thing that we'd done and helped friends, we hadn't really had much, knowledge of the stock dog side of things. Like I said, we went to this station with two, one of our dogs who was a pig dog and then a young pig dog that we bought, working bred pig dog, for that job. But our whole thing was we'll go to a property and prove ourselves, and then the station manager might let us hunt on, the station. So that sort of went off from there. And then it was only a few months in working on the station and everyone had a stock dog, everyone had a team of stock dogs. And I just love dogs. So I was I need to get a stock dog. And our neighbour down the road, Dave Steele, which you'll know him.
Yeah.
He was our neighbour, and he basically taught me everything. I would go there every weekend, some afternoons after work, with my manager Nick Edwards, who also taught me everything as well. So two really good mentors straight away in that industry, and we'd be there drinking beers, working dogs. I'm most of the time I'm freaking out because I don't know how to start my own stock dog. Dave's I'm Dave, you get in there and you do it. I can't do this. So it was a whole learning curve for me. And I had my first stock dog was Sasa, and we still got her now. And she was a learning curve. She was full on when I got her. But she's our main bitch now. So it's a massive achievement, I feel for us, because, we didn't know anything, and just having that really good direction there, from Dave and Nick, and then making the dog that she is today and a couple of the other dogs that we have too, it's pretty rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah. What a place to fall.
I'm trying to think about how to word that, Laura.
What was that?
We're just saying you couldn't have landed in a better spot to learn about dogs.
Oh, absolutely. It was meant to be. Like I said, we just become mates with Dave and Kelly Steele straight away. And he just burst us in the life of the stock dogs, and it was just on from there. That's how I got my first team together. But I was a Kelpie girl, not a collie girl, and that was the thing that we'd always disagreed on, is, they're massive collie people. And I love border collies. We've started getting a couple, but I just love the look of a Kelpie. It was just what I liked. But Sasa, yeah, the main girl that we've got, she's half Kelpie, half collie. So I I initially went on that in between. I was I might just get a half and half. So, yeah.
just wind it back a little. Like you guys in Brisbane, and you got some friends working stations. Did you lean on them to get a foot up, or how did you guys go about doing your research to go, oh, we're going to do this? Or was it just a leap of faith, or?
Yeah, it was honestly more of a leap of faith, because the friends we'd had were more like, you know, on their own little like family operations, not necessarily on like big stations. And we just literally went on to, I can't remember the website, it's like Station or Farming Jobs web Facebook page. And we would just put up a bit of a, you know, like an about us. Like, I mean, probably the saving grace for getting a ticket in is myself and my husband both grew up riding motorbikes. Like I did it competitively as well. Like I raced motocross for a few years. And he was, you know, he'd been brought up around dirt bikes as well. So we were very competent riding dirt bikes and quads. But I also had my own horses too. So I was a competent horse rider as well. And I guess that was probably the ticket in, because we'd sort of had already a bit of a skill set there, just hadn't done, you know, a heavy amount of work in cattle really. But like the station we were on, they were very, you know, welcoming to that. And they taught us a lot in terms of, it was rotational grazing. So we were doing so much stock work. So you had to pretty much learn it very quickly, big numbers and, you know, multiple moves a day, you know? So yeah, doing that for that period and getting exposed to that was really awesome. Like, and that was our step in the door, and we just fell in love with it. So like, yeah, I encourage anyone who has that thought to go do it, just jump in and do it. You've obviously got to put in the hard work, but if you love it, like it's rewarding.
Great advice.
Yeah.
And you're 6 years in now, where do you see yourself in another 6?
Probably still in the industry. The company we're working for now, they're awesome. Like they really look after us. And I think that's the big thing, is you got to find somewhere who really appreciates their workers and their staff. And, you know, they sort of just let you do your job, you know. So I think, if we're not here, like we probably will be here, or maybe we'll be here, but we don't have any plans to leave here anytime soon. So, yeah.
And what about with your dogs? Like what anything you'd like to achieve, or somewhere you'd like to focus moving forward with your dogs?
Yeah, so I guess we just want to continue improving our skills with our dogs. In the stock dog world, there's so much you can learn when it comes to training your dogs, and we're nowhere near perfect. We've got, you know, still a lot of things that we can learn. Like I said, we're very lucky to have a good introduction to it and a solid sort of idea of how to put a foundation on your dog. So like I even do now, because this area is a little bit more of I'd say like a hobby farm area. I actually do like a little bit of stock dog starting now myself for other people. So I really want to continue doing that. Like a goal for me is continually growing a bit of a sort of a business, starting people's stock dogs, and helping them learn about it the way I had to learn. So that's, probably part of my goal. And then we do want to just do the fun thing here and there, and maybe go to a trial and, you know, muck around and, you know, just sort of meet people, you know, like just continually meet people in industry and grow knowledge and talk to people. And so that's probably our goal with it. Yeah.
So just backing up our full hours conversation, how and why did you get into like nutrition? Like, other than just diving into the research, what was it that made you start doing that?
So two particular dogs that we have. So Floki, he's a pig dog, and he's one of the
great
first.
Name.
Pardon?
Great name.
Floki, yeah, it suits him too. We went with the Viking name with the pig dogs. It's like they all have. Well, it's sort of now we just couldn't think of any more Viking names, so we're sort of like at the tail end of that. But all of the initial pig dogs we had all have Viking names. But yeah, Floki, he's like our, you know, what we would call our main dog, like in terms of the hunting side. He started slowing up and getting injured pretty quickly, like after sort of a fair wedge of work. You know, when we moved to this particular country here, so initially when we got him, it was in central Queensland, and, you know, it wasn't hard, it wasn't easy country, but it wasn't hard country there to hunt for dogs. But when we moved here, we've moved into some very hilly, you know, just very hilly country, and having a big dog like Floki, who was initially sort of, you'd consider him bred for, I guess, not hilly work. He's a 45-kilo dog. And dragging his body up and down these very steep, you know, inclines, really pushing his body, going at a huge distance like this. He'll travel out about two kilometers to find pigs, and he'll take himself into the most average places that you don't want to go. But him doing that and then holding on to a big pig or a big boar when you're out hunting has really played a toll on his body. And he's only, like, he's 5. Like, yes, he's a big dog, and technically a 5-year-old bigger dog is aging, but we still wish that, like, we still wish his longevity would have been prolonged a little bit. And if I would have changed a few things back in the very start with him, I think with his diet and just having him on the right things and the right additions, not necessarily the kibble, because we've always had the enduro there, but it's just having him on the right additions to really help his body and knowing how to recover him properly after those big hunts. You know, it would have prolonged him a little bit more, and it would have helped him with not developing early arthritis. So his body now, like, his shoulders will seize up, his front limbs, like he's good for one hunt now, and then he's out for a month. You know what I mean? So that was one of the big ones for me, trying to get into sort of the research behind it and you know, helping our dogs, because seeing that with him, like, he's mentally all there and wants to get it done, but he physically can't keep up as much anymore. And then on the other end of the spectrum, like, I had Gunnar, who I'd mentioned earlier. So he's one of our stock dogs, and he just exerts himself so much when he's out at work, that he was always coming home basically not being able to keep condition on. And, you know, I sort of thought to myself, there's obviously something more to this. Like, what can we do for him? And it's the same sort of thing as what I went into earlier, not realizing how much that calorie intake plays a role in them out on the field and being able to keep up with, you know, keeping body condition on. And you see a lot of dogs that are out there doing these big jobs and, you know, mustering every day, and just, you know, they're just basically, they look underrun. You know, you can see all their ribs. If you look at their heads are a bit sunken in, because basically what that dog's been doing, if they're not getting that energy over the time and the calories that they need, they're breaking down their muscle proteins to find energy. So Gunnar was breaking his muscles down to find stored energy that he couldn't get from what he was being fed. And it was, like I said, it was one of them things. It was a bit of a, hey, this is not right, you know. And I'd seen it in a lot of dogs, and I'm like, surely they got to look a little bit better than this out working, you know, like there's something else to this. So that was my kick into it, really. Like, I just wanted to get to the bottom of why some dogs looked okay and why others were just not looking very good at all.
Yeah.
Something I love about sorry, Laura, you go first.
Rude question, I guess, in some ways, but like, is there formal training? Like, if someone wanted to go out and do and learn what you've learned, is there formal training, or have you done it like through the deep dark web and like just full blown into it?
Is this the nutrition stuff, Laura?
Yeah.
I've just done it myself. I've done no formal training. Like, I mean, I guess if you know how to study something, you know what to look for and where to go to find information. Like, I've just gone to resources where, you know, it's a quality resource, and I've just researched that, and it's got loads of references on it and blah, blah, blah. And I've just found all these studies, like, on these work dogs, and just gone through them. Like, I still read them today and go, oh, I don't remember reading that. Like, there's so much into it that I would never have thought it got this deep, you know, into the whole nutrition and performance side of things. And I think that's where it's interesting with the stock dogs and the hunting dogs, because there's actually no real formal research on this particular subject. And I guess you can either trust me with it or you don't trust me with it, but I've just been putting those pieces of the puzzle together and trying to sort of come up with sort of a general idea of what's working for our sort of dogs, you know, and then hoping to influence and help people understand that, so that, you know, it's like an insurance policy on that dog. Like if you can't give them the fuel they need, they're going to break down early. They're going to have injuries more easily. They're not going to be able to give you 100% out on the job. And it honestly shows, like, as soon as I've done certain changes with our team of dogs, after learning all these things, like, you can see the change in how they work and their performance. So I guess I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess where I was going with that was, someone doesn't have the time, doesn't want to do it.
Yep.
You're in contact. Like, you now offer that to people.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't. Yeah, absolutely.
So I was trying to like lead into it, and you're like, oh, no, I'm not having to go at you.
I was being a bit slow there. Yeah, I totally can do that, and I've already done that for, you know, a couple of people. Like, they've reached out and they've said, you know, can I get a bit of a consult with you? And what I'll do is I've got a couple of forms that I've made up for myself, so I can get a really good idea of that, you know, that team of dogs situation. And then, you know, you fill out the form, you send it to me. I'll go over all the things that you've you know, you let me know about it. Pretty much just want to know everything about that dog and what you're doing with that dog. And I will give you tailored, like I said, calculations on the energy requirements. I'll give you the amounts you got to feed. I'll give you a list of additions that are beneficial for those dogs. And, you know, just giving you some general tips on that care side of things with them. You know, when to feed, like timing of feeding's massive too, as well as focusing on certain things in certain meals, like I'd sort of explained at the start. But yeah, absolutely, I can do that for sure.
I actually just put two and two together. I was at a trial earlier this year, and someone mentioned that they've been talking to you about this, but I never put it together until you mentioned forms. So like, oh, I should maybe fill out all these forms, and then I'm just racking my brain. I'm like, wait a minute, this is the same Lydia, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Natalie does something similar for this for her mare.
Yeah.
She speaks to someone that put together this whole diet plan for a mare because she's eating too much lucerne. She might be a little bit favored here, and I might give her the odd biscuit too many because she's really cool. And yeah, I'm not allowed to overfeed her anymore. But yeah, no, I just get it. And obviously, someone like myself, who's I suppose speaks with people over a lot of different dog disciplines. A lot of people that do what you do, they do it purely out of a passion. Like, it just come out of a passion somewhere, and you've actually become more specialized at it than vets could give you info anyway. You know, I admire it. I love it, how a passion drives something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, I get a little bit obsessive and I'll go down rabbit holes.
Really? I never think so.
And I just must, I used to love horse nutrition. It's funny you say the horse nutrition. I used to love the horse nutrition stuff, but then as soon as we got more into the dogs, it was switch over to the dog stuff. But yeah, so.
The other thing I love about what you're doing, a lot of people just think, oh, pig dogs. Like, they're just hunting dogs, you just feed them. Like, and that's something I'm very passionate about because I've been around pig dogs for, I'm going to give my age, like 30 years now, right? But like, for someone that's put the time and effort into, like yourself, like, they're not just a hunting dog, they're part of your family.
Yeah.
Like, I noticed you mentioned before he would have been 7 today. So there's obviously, I'm assuming you've lost the dog and it still holds a special spot.
Yeah.
And actually, while we're on that, I suppose we've probably got some listeners that are not so much farmers or hunters, milers or weekend warriors. I'm assuming someone that cares so much about their hunting dogs.
Yeah.
When you actually do take them to work, I don't want to give that away because I already know the answer, but they're wearing protective equipment and different type of tracking equipment as well. Do you want to touch on some of that for those particular people as well?
Yeah. So the particular dogs we have, they're basically called like a finder lugger. So their job is to find you the pigs, but also hold on to the pig, so that you can obviously dispatch the pig as quickly as possible. Obviously,
sorry, can I just add to that for one moment?
Yeah.
So to other people out there that might not know as well, so then we've got our bailers, which are just fine and basically just herd the pig in that spot or slow it up with a bit of bark and maybe some little irritating nips here or there just to slow it up until we can get there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, no, that's great because the bailing side of things is awesome. Like we would love to have bailers. It's but they're a lot of work having bailers because you've got to really put effort into teaching them the job. So initially, I guess when we got our pig dogs, we just went for the finder luggers because we thought we would need them at the time. Then you move to the country we moved to, and you realise bailers would have been a really good option. But we make it work. So we've got the finder luggers as our pig dogs, and of course, dogs going in to hold the pig, it can be dangerous. So you put them in a chest plate so that they have a bit of protection on them. The chest plate normally, we've got full chest plates on our dogs, so because our dogs will go in and hold anything. Like there's no hesitation what size that pig is or how cranky it is. They will do it. They will get in there and hold it. So we want full protection on our dogs, like up, to the top of the sort of chin there, and then back just sort of sitting on the ribs on the side, but not all the way back because it restricts their movement a bit too much if you do that. But on their shoulders as well, comes just below their sort of their shoulder arm there. And that is literally just for protection and impact protection, and obviously with the tusks as well. So, having them in that is essential for us just due to their safety. And obviously we have trackers on them too. So if our dogs decide to go out a distance, so I was talking about Floki before, he'll sometimes track out around 2K and he'll go up into the hills and you've got to figure out where he is. So the trackers are really important for that as well. So you can get to them quickly and help them out. Yeah.
Does the heart still stop when you see treated quarry when you track her? Yeah. It
Oh,
doesn't
like,
change.
Pardon?
I don't think it ever changes when you can't hear anything and you see treated quarry and you're listening.
Yeah. It's like, my heart always stops, and you don't know what's up there. You don't know what they've got half the time. Obviously, you do know what they have sometimes because you'll hear it, but if you don't hear anything, that's the most nerve-wracking thing.
Get up there quick. This is a big one.
Yeah. I'm like, Sam, you go up there, you go in there. But the hunting dog thing, like you mentioned before, I think it's a really good thing to mention. People just think that they're just this buff-headed hunting dog. They don't mean anything. They're a tool, blah, blah, blah. Like our hunting dogs are everything, like to us. Like we have their priority, we've got their best interest. We want to help them out. They're part of the team and they work their hearts out for you out there and putting themselves on the line, to get the job done. So we take that really seriously, like my husband, if he knows he needs to get there, he's there. Like he will get there for that dog, So we take it seriously. We work together as a team, and I think that's what people need to realize. There are athletes, those dogs. They do things that are very impressive, and they are definitely like, I just look at, because I know, like you said, some people just think that they're just these buff-headed things, but even like I was mentioning Floki, he's a main dog for a reason. He's got a very, very smart brain on him, so he hunts smart. He normally hunts smart and acts smart, but there's just a lot more to them than what some people think. Yeah.
Even sometimes the things they don't do is impressive.
Yes. Yeah.
Just by using their brain and their experience or just the smarts of the dog.
Absolutely. Well. And then you have Oslo, our other dog, who doesn't think, and you've got to be careful with him. Yeah.
And I think around that stigma as well, like I think when I was talking to you, so like at Christmas time or at my brother's place, and all my nephews and nieces are riding his dogs like they're ponies, like, and we're all laying in the middle of the paddock and dogs all over us. Like, they're no different to mate's cavoodle that sleeps on the ground. Like, they're really just this loving pet that they just happen to have a job. Yeah. And I love how much emphasis you guys put into looking after them.
Absolutely.
I think it's great. And the more you promote it is better for the industry and the dogs. So no, hats off to you and congratulations for putting it out there as well, because I'm sure you put yourself out. Or I sent a post you put up the other day, like open to criticism as well, right? Like, someone must have had a whinge about kennels, and people don't know what they don't know, and we're all opted at some point or another.
There was a lot of that. There was one post I put up and it just got the wrong audience, and I just kept getting all these nasty comments, and I deleted a heap of them, and then they just kept coming through, So I thought, you know what, this is obviously uneducation and, with people understanding anything about this industry and how we keep our dogs safe, So I was like, I'm doing another post on this, and then I did not expect it to get, the likes that it got, and then I got all this support from everyone. I was like, wow. But yeah.
No, good on you, and congratulations for doing it. Like, people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
Getting softer as progress as species. Just trying to do your bit and doing the best we can is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
It also comes back, it shows the power of social media, doesn't it? Like,
yeah,
people that obviously ended on the wrong side of Facebook, with those uneducated people that just they don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
and to turn around and put the positive spin on it that you didn't educate them. Was really cool to see. So
awesome.
Hats off to you.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. While you've got the stage here, is there anything you'd like to add to our conversation tonight, or a message you'd like to put out there in the sphere?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot of it off. I guess, I just want everyone to be aware of, how much the I guess, like what I said, what we feed our dogs can really do for them, and having them at a good body condition and knowing that you're putting as much effort into them as possible so they can do that job for you, like, optimally, so that's probably my message. Because it's one of the things, if you don't know, you don't know. And it's only until I looked into it till I realized there was so much more to it, and it's not just adding anything in, you've got to add in the right stuff to actually make something of it. So
it's the old, you are what you eat, and it's no different.
Yeah.
What do you got for us, Laura?
I was just gonna go with the if you could have a meal with anyone, who would it be, dead or alive?
This is a hard one. I forgot you asked these questions, Laura.
It's sort of my pick at the moment, that one. I like it.
If I could have a meal with anyone, first one that comes to my mind would be my grandmother. Yeah. So she's obviously passed away, and she has done so since I was about, I think, 14. But she's from property. She's, she grew up on a dairy farm. And I see photos of her and I think, wow, like, I'm sort of doing what she sort of loved. Like, she had a horse and a working dog in some of her photos there. And I just think, how awesome would it be now to have that conversation with her and talk to her about those things. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. I wouldn't have been surprised if you said Gordon Ramsay, though.
Yeah. That's just telling me that I need to cook better. My husband might call you up and say, yeah, Gordon Ramsay would be a good one for her.
Let's get that one up.
Yeah.
Lydia, thank you very much for your time tonight. Much appreciate making some time for us. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me, guys. It's been awesome.
Knowledge. Well and truly. Much
appreciated. And to all our listeners out there that tuned in tonight or listening back, please remember we learn every day, and the day we stop learning will be a sad one for all of us. Good night.